Hello and welcome to Freedom and Four Paws, the show where we hear inspiring stories from amazing people travelling the world and living their best life, often with their pets in tow.
From slow mads to digital nomads, house and pet sitters, expats and families with their dogs on the road. In this podcast, find out how travel can truly set you free.
Oh, no way. Look at that cutie.
This is London.
Hey, London, look at the little cat's tail there. That's so cute. We're really excited to talk to you about your 9 years of travel. Over 40 house sits, I think, or 40 house sits under your belt. Pretty inspiring. So,
Yes, we were looking at your Instagram account last night. You got some wonderful photos of howler monkeys. There's a massive big lizard I saw there as well, and a vast variety of dogs. You're very cool. I thought Sarah and I were cool. We've done like 10 house sits. We looked after 26 dogs, 1 cat, 2 horses and a bird. I thought, no one's going to trump us. And then we read your piece. Like, they've done over 46, Sarah. And
we've been put back in our box. But tell us a little bit about your story so far.
Where did it all begin?
Where do we start? Well, when we started, we didn't know anything about house sitting. We just decided that we would visit some friends that had offered for us to come stay in various spots around the world and try something different. And one thing led to another, and we were house sitting for some friends, doing them a favor, taking care of their cats and dogs and chickens and geese. And
It was like we had 40 animals on our first house sit.
Wow.
40 animals on your first house sit. That's like baptism by fire.
That's an initiation.
we would never volunteer to do that again.
Yeah, we didn't know the questions to ask at the time. But it was mostly, chickens and ducks and rabbits. Actually, there were no dogs. It was a cat.
It was a cat.
But Dave actually had to do the lion's share of it because he got up at 6 every morning and had to let all the animals out and feed them.
Only one person could wear the boots. So.
Well,
We had a house sit like that as well that had 2 horses, and I was the one getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when it's -3 and Sarah's still in bed to shovel out the urine and feed the horses, because they're quite temperamental. If you weren't there at a certain time, they were whining, and you come up to the fence and they'd be like bumping you with their heads.
but we didn't have 40 animals.
No, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Well, the geese would let me know if I wasn't opening the gate on time.
Oh, yeah.
Quite
They would
smart
peck
animals, geese, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
But let me back up. So Dave left something out, and that is that what happened is I decided to retire early when I found out that I could retire at age 50 and still maintain medical benefits, which is a huge thing, for people in the United States, because our whole medical healthcare system is very broken. And a lot of people we know that live nomadic lives actually are doing so because they're escaping the medical situation in the United States because they can't afford it, or they've gotten sick or whatever it is. So anyway, we were lucky enough for me to get full medical upon my retirement. And we decided to just go live without a house for a while, because without rent or mortgage or really the bills that come along with owning a home or trying to run a home, we just thought, well, let's just go travel and see what it's like. So we did that for a year, and then we found out about house sitting. That's why we've been traveling for 9 and house sitting for 8.
Beautiful.
There are a lot of online platforms now offering house and pet sitting services. So how do you find your house sits now?
Well, I'm mostly the one that's in charge of that, so I think I'll speak.
Yeah, that's my job too.
We do the labor.
You guys are the same.
Yeah. Well, initially we joined 2 platforms, and but we mostly ended up using one major platform. I don't know if you guys want to talk about names, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so we mostly have used Trusted House Sitters over the years, and but we've also found them through referrals. Once people knew what we were doing, they would ask us if we would, do it for friends or do it for them. So we've also found them through referrals. Sometimes I will post on Facebook, we have this period of time that we're open to house sitting, and then people might respond to us. There's also a number of Facebook groups that we belong to. Like if we're interested in going to a particular area, ones that are for expats or specifically for house sitting in particular areas. For example, the most recent example of that was, we're in Panama right now, house sitting. Right. So, but we're on the Pacific side of Panama, and we got this house sit for 6 weeks. And Dave said, hey, before we do that house sit, I want to spend a month on the Caribbean side because we both love snorkeling. Well, we love island life. He's a diver. And so I found, I think it was called Bocas del Toro, something like that. That's the area. Bocas del Toro house sit.
Wow.
On Facebook. And I thought, wow, how interesting. So I just posted pictures of us and some of our reviews from Trusted House Sitters. And literally 2 days later, we got a message from somebody saying, hey, can you come take care of our place for a whole month?
Wow.
And so that's another way to get them.
One of the questions we had actually, because we, like you, we've started out on Trusted House Sitters and the paid services, but we can obviously see on the Facebook group so many people, both homeowners and pet sitters, advertising or promoting their services and when they'll be in various places. How do you kind of manage the security side of that? Or, if someone approaches you with a great opportunity, how have you approached it to know that it's legit and that you guys will be safe? Or am I overthinking it?
That's a good question. We've really only taken house sits for friends or friends of friends, except for this last one. It's the only one we've taken. So.
And and what was interesting about this one is they wanted us to, they have a B&B. And they wanted to, I think with 5 rooms or something like that. And they wanted to close down all the rooms and just have us live in their home and take care of their 2 dogs. So I actually went on I Googled, reviews of that B&B. And I found that it's a legitimate B&B. Yeah. And so I think that was the way that I looked at it. But I think if I were going to, I don't know, I tend to just maybe be a little too trustworthy. I don't know. I just trust. I just sort of.
I think that makes sense, though.
Yeah, we like to be able to connect. Yep. You look them in the eye, ask questions, and see how they answer them, and that tells us quite a bit. Yeah, it does. It does. And so we always, however we find the house sit, we always do an initial Skype or Zoom or whatever it is with people, and you can really, when you ask questions, and a lot of times they'll show you around their house. I mean, the thing is, this is the thing I love about house sitting is it's so beneficial to both sides. Yeah. And so they have to trust us and we have to trust them.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I agree that communication is a very big factor in our, we always make sure we develop those relationships before, during and after as well. I know it's going to be very hard to narrow it down to just one. Over 40 sits. Has there been a memorable sit?
Like a really,
What stands out?
Yeah.
So we're pretty fortunate in that we take house sits in places where we have friends or family, or places that we want to explore, or something random and interesting internationally. And so we've always had something to enjoy in every house sit. And we could go through every one of them and give you highlights. And it's amazing, amazing, amazing.
And lowlights, a few lowlights too.
Yes. Yeah.
But I would like to say we've done a lot of tropical house sitting, Mexico, nice. Hawaii, Malaysia. So we love that and we're oriented towards that, but we also enjoy winter sports. So we find ourselves wanting to find a way to get to the mountains and finding house sits in the mountains. And we recently did one in Utah, Sandy, Utah. And it happened to be right at the mouth of the canyon where there were a bunch of great ski resorts. So, and it was 3 chickens and 1 rabbit. So we had a lot of flexibility.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
We were able to get a ski pass and ski and snowshoe and explore the area. And it was really great.
Mm-hmm. By the sound of your lifestyle, Kate and Dave, you like the long sits, do you? Prefer those than the shorter stays? Slow travel?
We're definitely slow mads.
Excellent.
We really like to get the feel of a place. Now, I'm not saying we won't take a short one, and we've taken a few of those, but we like to settle in, see what it's like to live in that place, meet the neighbors, see the sights, get to know all the dog walks in the neighborhood. Yeah.
But occasionally we'll deliberately pick a short one. Like, for example, one time we were in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where we're from, and we were visiting some friends. and we found out that there was one of our favorite bands playing up in San Francisco. And so I was thinking, well, it's going to go late. Maybe we need to find a hotel. And I'm thinking, what am I thinking? Let me go on and see if there happens to be any weekend house sits. Sure enough, the actual weekend that we needed, there was a house sit taking care of 2 cats. Yeah. And so it was wonderful in San Francisco.
In one of the nicest neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you're really making it work for yourselves. That's incredible. I haven't heard slow mads. What was it? Slow mads before, but I'm going to adopt that. That's very cool.
That's going to be our slogan now.
All right on.
We're very fortunate with our track record. We can kind of pick and choose. Yeah. And we do look for things that are 1, 2, 3 months long.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I think the longest one we did was 4 months, and that was on the Big Island of Hawaii.
Wow. Oh, good on you. That is really inspiring. Just makes me want to get back on the road and do this. Kate, we've obviously seen that you're a writer and you take this lovely career on the road with you. It's something that we both do as well when we're not kind of engaged in full-time work, which we're hoping to potentially change up next year. But how do you make your writing work for you on the road? And do you have a routine? Or tell us a little bit about that. I'm professionally curious.
I wouldn't say I have a routine per se, but if I'm working on a specific project, I generally carve out a few hours a day. I tend to be someone that likes to have a full life. So I don't want it to be all writing, but I don't feel right if I'm not doing any writing either, because writing is it's an important part of my soul, really. It's something I've always done. Like today, though, I did spend quite a bit of time. I just finished the first draft of my next book, which is actually about house sitting. The title is going to be Other People's Houses is going to be the title of it. And it's really about these last 8 years and what it's been like, primarily with house sitting, but there's also some in there that's about our home base, which I know we can talk about as well. But it works out really great. I think writing is the best portable job to have.
Yep. That's fantastic.
Now, 40 plus house sits, what are some of the big learnings you picked up on your journey? I mean, every house sit's different. The experiences are different. What could you say to yourself before you started picking up house sitting? You said your first house sit was through a friend. You're looking after 40 animals.
And that you wouldn't necessarily do that.
No. What advice and tips would you give to someone who's just starting out in house sitting?
This is an excellent question, because you don't know what to do until you start doing it. Yeah. And what we would recommend is think about what kind of experience you want to have and how many animals, how much of your time is involved, what type of animals. Do you want to be giving animals syringes and other sorts of medications? So what we've learned is by having a variety of house sits, we've learned what questions should be asked. Yes. Has this dog ever bit anybody?
Or nipped anybody? See, I always say bit, and they say no. And then I said nipped. And sometimes they're like, well, yeah. And then, because to them, that has a different connotation, right? The bit sounds so angry. Nip sounds like, a little warning. So even just knowing that, and I always let people know, we can pretty much handle anything. We just want to know everything we can about the animals in advance.
And, do they sleep on the beds?
That's a big one for me. Some people love having animals sleep on the bed, but actually when I apply for the sits, I usually ask, where do the animals sleep? Because if they say on the bed, I'm not interested in the sit because I need a good night's sleep.
Yeah. We've had experiences like that as well and I totally agree with what you're saying. You learn along the way and then you get better and better at determining what is right for you. And I think we got really excited in the beginning just being accepted for house sits. So I'd apply and then we'd end up in some places that maybe were a bit remote for us when we didn't have a car and didn't know the area and needed to walk everywhere. And walking's fine, but if you need groceries and deliveries are a bit tricky or whatever.
Pop out for a cafe.
Yeah.
Coffee.
So I think there's definitely things that you'd advise your original self before.
And we were doing short stays too. We might have a 2-night stay, and then one day later we'd have a 3-night, then a 1-night. And we're realizing we're trying to get to all these different places using public transport. And there's a real rush, and you're sort of like panicked every time. But now we realize that long stays are the best way to go.
Yeah, give yourselves time.
You mentioned that you have a home base in California, is it?
No, it's in Mexico.
In Mexico.
Oh, Mexico.
Is that important, having a home base when you're a trusted house sitter?
Well, when we started, we didn't have one.
Okay.
So, but we really enjoy it now because it's that place that we can, we're going back to our place. We have friends and community there. It's comfortable. We know the routines, and it's a good place just to get back into the healthy lifestyle, yoga, long walks on the beach. It's very predictable. So we really enjoy spending time there. I think on average, we're 3 to 4 months a year there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But sometimes we're there, like during COVID, we were there 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we haven't actually been there now for almost 2 years. After this, in 2 weeks, we're going back, and we plan to stay 5 or 6 months. So it just really varies how often we stay there. I think it really hit hard for me during the pandemic that, wow, it was important for us to have this, because I knew a lot of house sitters who, they had planned out it so far in advance, and then that just tipped the dominoes, and then they were scrambling for a place. So that could be tough, but that could happen to us too, because we rent our place out when we're not there. So it could happen to us where we're out and then we can't get back to our place. And we always figure it out. I think that's the thing that I've really learned about being a house sitter and just living a traveling life, is that we're so much more flexible and adaptable than I ever could have imagined. And I really like that a lot. One thing I just wanted to add about advice that I wanted to give people if they were starting out is to start getting house sits now, even some short ones. Like, for example, if you want to go out and do some international traveling, or if you want to become a full-time nomad or whatever it is, wherever you are right now, just apply for some short house sits that are local. If you are living in California, a weekend in San Francisco or a weekend in Monterey or something like that, because they're not very, you have a better chance of getting it if it's local, if it's short, and then you build up reviews. So that's a really good way to start.
You can use your own car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We did the same when we were in London. We started out pet sitting because we missed having a dog and we wanted some puppy love and to give that love back. But as you said, we did that a few times and built up a couple of reviews, which enabled us to apply for the international ones that we were ultimately after. So that's an awesome tip. And I love what you were saying too about learning to be flexible, and because I was going to ask you, how you plan your year in advance. Like, do you know that you want to be house and pet sitting and traveling for, 7 or 8 months of the year, and then you'll be back at your home base for a certain amount of time? But it feels like you might gauge based on how you're both feeling. Do you need a routine? Are you feeling like you need to be healthy and in that one home base? But yeah, anything else to add on that, on your planning side of things?
Well, flexibility is super important. For example, we talked about being away from our home for 2 years. Well, part of that is that we had long-term renters, and they kept extending. And so with that extension, we decided, let's go to Panama. So that wasn't in the plan, but we added the 2.5 months of here because we had good renters. So, are we happy we did Panama? Sure. Would we be happy not doing it? That would have been fine. But, go with the flow.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
We're noticing as well, when you jump on these platforms for house sitters, it's getting quite competitive. Mm-hmm. You might see a house sit on a beach in Mexico. All of a sudden, there's 30, 40 people applying for that sit. So how do you make your profile stand out?
Well, we're very fortunate in that I'm married to a writer. Right?
Nothing in common.
It's our secret weapon, really. And besides the fact she's right on top of it. And in today's environment, you have to respond quickly, otherwise you get cut out. So
Trusted House Sitters has made a change. I'm sure you are aware of where, and a lot of people are unhappy with that. I'm struggling with a little bit. I'm thinking next year we really want to go to Europe and do some house sitting in Europe. So I think I'm going to join a couple other platforms as well, just so I have several platforms that I can hopefully pick and choose from. But another thing that makes that I do when I apply, and I write about this in the book too. So when the book comes out, get it, and you'll get lots of good advice.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that I like to do is, I think the most important thing to most of the homeowners is their pets. And so I always mention the pets' names when I write to them. And I talk about how the pets, and it's true. I mean, I'm not just making this up. The pets will never be lonely. We'll give them lots of love. I'll be working on my writing. I say we love to travel. And when we house sit, we also, often nest and spend time in the home. And we enjoy that. So I make sure they know that their animals will be well taken care of and well loved.
Yeah, that's really important. We had that feedback too, that I think when we were, maybe it was Malta or in France or somewhere, where the homeowners said they felt like a lot of people applying were there for the, we really want to go to Malta. It's like, yeah, but do you really want to look after our pets? So you've got to make that clear that you actually do. That's a priority. And we're the same as you both. We did that as well. So, but it's excellent advice. So thank you very much. And yeah, the change that you were referring to with Trusted House Sitters, that was a huge thread that just went a bit crazy on the Facebook group the other day about, I think they've capped it at 5 applications. So you almost need to be on the same time zone, see it straight away, apply immediately. But it makes it harder for those of us who, like you said, you're in North America area and you're aiming for the European time zone. It's tricky. If you're asleep, you don't see those, and the 5 people have already applied, and whether they're the best or strongest applicants too. So yeah, an interesting move on Trusted House Sitters side. So we'll be keeping an eye out on other platforms potentially as well. But we'll interesting to see how that one plays out, or if Trusted House Sitters will take the feedback that surely they've seen across all the forums online.
So Kate and Dave, 9 years, 40 plus house sits. What's next for you guys?
I wish we had an easy answer. We're going to keep doing this for a while. So.
Yeah. As I said, we're heading back to our home base. We have some work we want to do on the house. Fortunately, it's a small house. This is a whole other thing. Part of this lifestyle for us is living light, and so for this traveling to Panama, this 2.5 months, we each have a backpack and a small suitcase. And our little place in Mexico is a 1-bedroom place. So even though there's work to do on it and stuff, it's not like, a massive 3 or 4 bedroom place. So we really downsize. We like living a light, downsized life. And it's really amenable to this lifestyle. So at any rate, after Mexico, like I said, we hope to go to Europe, because after all these years, we have never been to Europe together. We've been separately. We've been together 12 years, but we've been separately. So we're excited about exploring. We have friends in Italy and Switzerland and England. So, one of the things we rarely do is house sitting back to back. That's another thing I just wanted to mention. Oftentimes we'll visit friends in between, or like in the case of this house sit, we spent some time in Panama City, even though we didn't have a house sit there, just because we wanted to see it and explore. And so it sort of felt like a little vacation in the midst of our house sitting.
Beautiful.
A lot of house sitters will do back to back to back to back and string them along. And there's a lot of organization and taking things you don't necessarily want to make it work. So we don't really play that game. Sometimes we'll do back-to-backs if it works out, but we'll also be tourists for a couple of days and this kind of thing.
Yeah, we're the same. Sometimes you just want to have a bit of a break to relax and not have to worry about that routine of getting up early, looking after animals, cleaning the house. So we think exactly the same.
We learned that the hard way, though, by doing it back to back.
I also like how you mentioned you downsized. When we first started, we had 2 big bags, a backpack, and we're at the train station. Right, everything has to go, darling. So we're throwing shoes, books, and we managed to downsize. And now, just like you guys, 1 bag and a backpack.
It feels so good, though.
It's liberating.
Oh, it's so funny you say that, because our first place that we traveled when we left California, living home free, was Australia. And we had these huge these huge suitcases that Dave was like breaking his back trying to carry, haul these things around. He said, okay, never again. We're not doing that again. Yep. But again, it's all learning. I mean, we had gotten rid of almost everything we owned, and so we thought we were traveling light, but then, we stuffed as much as we could in a suitcase. And of course, I only used a small portion of what we brought.
Oh, I know. Everyone relates to that.
We find that when we travel light, if we really need something wherever we're going, we can buy it there.
Exactly. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and hearing your stories. Where can people follow your journey online?
Okay. Well, the best place to go is to my website, because from there you can get to my books and my blog. I do have a first book I wrote, a memoir called Call It Wonder, which is about our decision to live a nomadic life. So as I said, the next book is going to be more about house sitting. But anyway, the first one's about that decision and what it was like. It's called Call It Wonder. But from there, you can get to my blog, which I post. Dave's the photographer and I write it up. So all the pictures on there and the pictures you mentioned on Instagram, those are mostly Dave's photos. And so kateevanswriter.com. And I'm on Facebook and on Instagram, as you mentioned.
Fantastic.
We look forward to following your journey.
We do. And hopefully we can meet up in Europe next year.
And get a signed copy.
We would love that.
Thank you again for your time, and we'll stay in touch with you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on the Freedom and Four Paws podcast. This production has been inspired by our awesome Facebook community. Join the group by searching Pets and House Sitting, Travel and Digital Nomads, or find the group via the link on our Facebook page, Travel, Live, Learn.
This podcast is brought to you by TravelLiveLearn.com. Visit the site today to find out more about this podcast, access show notes, and sign up to our mailing list for free house and pet sitting application templates, guides, and a 25% off registration code for Trusted House Sitters.
If you love this content and want more of it, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or your favourite podcast service. You can find us on YouTube too. Look up Travel, Live, Learn. Until next time, give your pet a pat from us and say yes to that next adventure.